Good afternoon, students. You are welcome to GSP 1201-2201 Use of English. This is meant for the Faculty of Law Group F. The instructor is Dr. Ijeoma Paulette Ezuruike from the Department of English and Literary Studies, Bayero University, Kano. This is a first semester course in 2021-2022 session. Module 7, Language and Style. The topic of this module, unlike the other topics which we have been discussing, views language from a different perspective. While the other topics look at language from the grammar perspective, language and style teaches language appreciation. This explains how to look beyond denotation and grammar in order to recognize the value of language as used by different writers and speakers. It focuses on the speaker, how he speaks, the mode and channel in which the language is used, the audience and the purpose of the writing or speech. In other words, the topic is concerned with the literary use of language rather than the literal use of language. What is literature? Literature is a broad term that encompasses almost everything we read, see, and hear. Initially, literature referred mainly to fictional and imaginative writings and was divided into 3 genres or categories. These 3 genres or categories are poetry, prose, and drama. The form of each genre distinguishes it from the others. Although the 3 genres could share the same theme or subject matter, but each one looks different on the page. What this means is that a page of poetry is distinct from a page of play or drama. Since poetry does not indicate speaker, nor does it provide stage direction in parentheses the way the play text does. And prose is distinct because all the lines run to the edge of the page and do not stop arbitrarily the way that the lines in a poem do. Nowadays, however, the term literature has been expanded to encompass even writings that are factual or truth-telling. There is now a 4th genre or category of literature called life writing. This refers to non-fictional writings such as autobiography, biography, diary, journal, memoir, travelogue, letters, and essays. What is fiction? The term fiction denotes any literary narrative, whether in prose or verse, which is invented instead of being an account of events that actually happened. Sometimes, fiction is used as a synonym for the novel. Note, however, that fiction is not the same as a lie or falsehood or untruth. This is because in fiction there is no attempt by the author to deceive the reader or audience, as is the case with the lie or falsehood. Fiction is simply a product of the imagination. Writing or producing a work of fiction is a creative enterprise whereby the author invents a story world or depicts a series of events that never happened, but not with the intention to deceive. We have three genres of literature, like we mentioned earlier. We have poetry, prose, and play, or also called drama. Poetry. Poetry is often considered the oldest form of literature. This is because it has existed since before writing was invented, when our ancestors told oral stories in some sort of poetic form to make them easier to remember and recite. Today, poetry is usually written down, but is still sometimes performed. A text is said to be a poem when it has meter or rhythm, and when it focuses on the way the syllables, words, and phrases sound when put together. Poems are often made up of fragments and phrases rather than complete, grammatically correct sentences. A poet writes poem. Also, poetry is nearly always written in stanzas and lines, creating a unique look on the page. However, not all poems have a strict line arrangement or regular rhyme pattern. Some poems are called free form or free verse. Some features of poetry. 1. Rhyme. A rhyme is achieved when two or more words sound similar. For example, fly, high, by, or see, tree, agree, or feast, insist, assist. In a poem, rhyme is usually achieved when the last words of two or more lines have the same sound. For example, do you see the little fly up the wall so high? You can see that here fly rhymes with high. Rhyme is what gives poetry its musicality. Another feature of poetry is verse. A verse refers to the lines of a poem. Most of the time, a verse is not a full or complete sentence. It is just a line of poetry. Consider this excerpt from Sundare's poem. Poetry is man, meaning to man. From this example, you can see that a verse could even be just one word. Another feature of poetry is stanza. This word is derived from the Italian for stopping place. A stanza is a grouping of the verse lines in a poem. Stanzas are often separated by a space in the printed text. The stanza is the equivalent of the paragraph in prose writing. In other words, a passage or story or essay is made up of paragraphs, while poem is made up of stanzas. A paragraph is made up of sentences, while a stanza is made up of lines or verses. This excerpt given above from Osundare's poem is a stanza. Prose. Prose can be defined as any kind of writing that isn't poetry. The most typical varieties of prose are novels and short stories, while other types include letters, diaries, journals, and nonfiction. Prose is written in complete sentences and organized in paragraphs. Instead of focusing on sound, which is what poetry does, prose tends to focus on plot and characters. The writer of a prose is called an author. Some features of prose. 1. Plot. A plot means the arrangement of the events of a story. The most common type of plot is the linear plot, which has this structure: beginning, middle, end, or departure, adventure, return. However, not all plots are linear or chronological. The story structure, as shown above, has a linear plot, since the events of the story are narrated sequentially. Characters or characterization is another feature of prose. Characters are the people, animals, or things whose actions drive the plot or story. This means that characters can be human or non-human, such as animals, trees, or even things. Characters can be either round or flat, or they could be major or minor. Major characters are characters that play significant or important roles in a story. Without them, there would be no story. While minor characters are not as important as major characters, and therefore, even without them, the story could still remain. Most major characters are round characters. Round characters show change, development, or growth. Flat characters, on the other hand, are static. Another feature of prose is setting. This refers to the place or places where the story takes place. Setting can be a room, house, country, the forest, or even another planet. Settings can be actual places that we know, or they could be places that are imagined by the author or writer of the story. Play or drama. Any text meant to be performed rather than read can be considered a play. When a play is acted on a stage, it is called drama. The greater part of a drama is dialogue, with periodic stage directions. Dramas are meant to be acted out in front of an audience. The writer of a drama is called a playwright. Some features of drama are: 1. Dialogue. This refers to the talk or conversation between two or more actors or characters. 2. Monologue. This is used to refer to a situation where a character speaks alone to no one in particular or speaks to himself. 3. Stage direction. This refers to the instructions given by the playwright on how the stage is to be arranged or how certain actions are to be done. This is usually written in italics. Types of drama. The major types of drama are three. One, tragedy. It is a type of drama or play that has a sad ending. Comedy. This is a type of drama that has a happy ending and often makes the audience laugh. Tragicomedy. This type of drama contains features of both tragedy and comedy. Nonfiction. This is another genre of literature. We have discussed the first three genres of literature, which are poetry, prose, and drama. This is the fourth. Nonfiction is also called life writing because it generally refers to texts that tell the stories of real people's lives. The most common types of nonfiction are: 1. Autobiography. This is the story of a person's life told by him or herself. 2. Biography. This is the story of a person's life told by someone else. 3. Journal or diary. This is a record of the day-to-day events or happenings of a person's life which are recorded by that person as they happen. 4. Travel log. This is an account of a journey or travel recorded by the traveler, showcasing the strange people, places, things, and customs that are encountered in the course of the journey. Other types of literature include oral literature such as folklore, fables, legends, myths, and folklores or folk tales. Also, we have graphic novels and comic books. These are also types of literature. In conclusion, literature is divided into three major genres, which are poetry, prose, and drama. Prose works can be further divided into fiction and non-fiction, and each of these has its own features and characteristics. The beauty of literature is that it is all around us. Whenever we tell stories or recount our experiences, we are engaging in literature. It is in literature that human beings record and keep the best that has been known and thought in the world. Literature preserves our thoughts, experiences, emotions, and knowledge. It is through the constant engagement with literature that we improve our vocabulary, gain general knowledge, and sharpen our mental faculties. We cannot get by without literature in our lives. Here are some questions to help you in this study. 1. What is the meaning of the term literature? 2. How many genres of literature are there? 3. What are the distinguishing features of each genre of literature? And 4. What is the major difference between fiction and non-fiction? These are the references. You can search for the texts to help in your studies. We have come to the end of Module 7, and I believe you enjoyed the topic. This is the last module and we have come to the end of the course, GSP 1201, 2201 Use of English. Please note that Module 6, Summary, is discussed and integrated in Module 3 because reading and comprehension cannot be discussed without discussing summary as a topic. Feel free to drop your questions and click to view and listen carefully. Thank you very much and have a beautiful day.